back. We had so much content that we decided to spill over and share a second episode with you.
And this episode is about all of our other types of making and creativity, because we have been busy doing other things besides knitting and crocheting.
Weirdly enough.
I mean, we do have a somewhat rounded life.
No,
not really.
But we do like to make stuff. So we've got some sewing and quilting and what
cross
else?
stitch and craft. Yes.
Good.
So
we're going to share that with
okay,
you. And we'll have a little bit more shop news at the end too.
So we're just going to take turns showing you stuff.
Great.
Not
You start.
in like any specific section or anything like that. Okay. I'm going to start with this. I'm laughing because I brought my centerpiece with me. Oh, this is huge.
It's huge. Here, that is so cute, Deborah. Do you need help?
I made a beehive. And I'm dropping leaves because I had this caught in the door in my car.
Oh no.
So I made this with hemp cord that I actually just wrapped wax paper around a KitchenAid mixing bowl, my friend's, because hers doesn't have a handle and mine does. And then I just hot glued the hemp cord to itself and spiraled it up. And when I got to the top, let's see if you can see, it's all gonna fall. I put a little handle on it, and I put some foam core, a circle on the bottom, and glued that in after I stuffed it full of plastic, like the shopping bags and stuff. Because I'm like, well, that's one way to recycle them, is to stuff them. So this is a piece of felt right here. So this is actually going to be in my kitchen. Utah is known as the beehive state, and my name Deborah means bee. So I like bees and beehives. Not enough to really, go all out, but I made this giant centerpiece that I've traveled with.
It's super cute.
So I like that one.
Love it.
It was really simple. It took me like 2 hours to make, including the decorating of it.
So cute. I would never have even thought of that. See?
It's not on Pinterest. I have no original ideas. I'm just going to be honest. I am good at duplicating things and improving or perfecting things, but not with coming up with my own.
Well, it's really, really, really cute.
Thanks. There's one.
There's one. Oh, yes. I made a purse, a bag. This is my bag. Let's see if I can show it well. It's a tote bag that I made using some recycled, here we go.
Emily likes floppy bags.
Yes. I mean, this is actually floppier than I meant it to be, but that's okay. So I used some recycled denim.
It's very fun.
Actually, it's not recycled. This is leftover that I had from when I made a skirt, and there were just some little pieces left over, so it's scraps. And then some time ago, I bought a set of fat quarters on Etsy that were reclaimed fabrics from vintage sheets. And I used this set to make the rest of the bag here.
So growing up, we had right here this sheet. And
this one right here.
Yeah, yes.
And we had this one right here.
Yeah. I remember some of these.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also vintage trim that I bought from a cute little antique vintage store. And then I just made up the pattern. So it's a basic tote bag with kind of a boxed bottom on it. But I added this little tie to kind of cinch it in. So this is what was going on,
because I kept pulling on it.
Yeah, so it's like this, but then I can tie it in like that to kind of cinch it in to be more of like a bucket kind of bag. And that way everything doesn't fall out.
I matched the pocket.
I know, you do. Look at that. That's so fun.
Love it.
I covered these buttons with some more of the denim, but I'm really sad because the one on this side broke, so I need to replace it. And then one of my favorite things, so on the inside I have some of my things still in here, like my wallet and I have a pouch. No drama llama, or save the drama for your llama. Anyway, I put a pocket on either side, and I have 3 sets of keys that I always have to keep track of. So I put this little key fob that I can hook all my keys onto that hangs there. So I always know where my keys are. Anyway,
That's smart.
isn't that fun? This fabric was also a vintage fabric that I got at a yard sale
That's fun.
last 2 summers ago.
Very summery.
It is.
It's coming.
It's going to come. So
I love it.
there you go. So yeah, I used interfacing between the layers, but I thought that interfacing is a funny thing. Sometimes I use an interfacing and I think, well, that is so stiff. But it's partially because it was an iron-on one. Once you actually iron it on,
Yeah.
and it kind of does that melty thing, all of a sudden it was like really squishy. So didn't have as much structure as I thought it would.
Okay, I'm trying to decide about cross stitch. I'm going to do my
You should do your cross stitch
blankets,
stuff.
Actually, I'm going to do my
Okay,
blankets.
good.
Because I have been working on making baby blankets to use for gifts and things like that. So all I did was tied blankets. I realized I had not taught my children how to do a basic tied quilt, which is, I did 3 different versions here to show my kids. This one, it's upside down, the print. This one is a looped one. It's where you go down and up again. You kind of make this loop, and then you go to the next section and tie them up, cut between them. That's one way of doing them. And this is called the international tie, I think.
So they're not actually tied.
They're not
at all.
actually tied,
Okay.
but this is the type that's often requested when you're shipping internationally, because the ties sometimes can come untied, and apparently this is a more secure way. So this I put just some soft yellow flannel on the back, and these are all fabrics that I have had sitting around for a while, and I've made this, I don't know what size. I think that they are 45 inches square. I think I did 1.5 yards. Yeah, around
So that'd be
that.
44 by 44.
Yeah,
Okay.
about. So I have one,
45 by 45, yeah.
and I put this up on a Q-snap frame, which is Emily's.
I lied. Sorry, that would be 1.25 yards if it's a square, because it's
I think
36
I
plus
think I
9.
did 1.5 yards, so it would
Okay.
be 1.5 yards by 40, like 42 by the time I trim it down and stuff. This is the second one. This is a fabric I have had for at least 10 years.
I love it.
Because I love it so much, but I didn't want to use it because nothing was perfect enough. And then I realized nothing will ever be perfect enough for me to use this. So just use it, because what baby isn't perfect enough?
So
this tie
sweet.
is the traditional square knot. And when I tie quilts, I mark the tops where it needs to be tied. This one I didn't need to because it just went in all of the pink centers here.
Nice.
And depending on your batting will determine how far apart they should be. So you just have to read your batting instructions. And I used 3 different types of batting because it just depends on what I had sitting around. But what I will do is I will start this here, and then I don't cut the yarn. I go and do this next one, and there's a way that you do the knot, how you put the needle under this way, or
You wrap your
put it
needle
this
to
way.
the top and then work through, and then to the bottom and then
Yes.
work through. Yeah.
And you just keep going across until you run out of yarn, and then you just start again, and then when you're done you just go snip between them. So
That's how that was kind of the way we've
Yeah.
always done it.
and this is a soft pink fabric.
so cute.
on the
I
back.
have to make some of these now.
This
been
one
so
was
long.
with my thickest batting that I had, but it also kind of bunched up weird, and so I had to go and try and smooth it out. And I don't know where I got it from, but this one was an invisible stitch. You can see on the back. I used red thread. The other 2 I used yarn, and this one I used a crochet thread for it, and it's an invisible tie, so you really can barely see them. And what you do is you go between the layers. You use a really long needle. And you go between the layers and you make a loop and go between layers and make a double loop, go between layers.
So there's just strands of that thread inside the...
And it goes across and across and across. And this is the type that's requested from some international, what am I trying to say, like charities, because there's nothing that can catch. And so that's how I learned this one, was when I was doing some service projects for one donation place. And then I have this kind of soft tealy blue for it.
That's a fun print.
So we have 3 baby blankets ready to go, and I have taught my children. Whether they will remember or not, I don't know. But I've done it.
Is this something, are you planning on giving these as gifts, just putting them in your gift kind of bin or closet or whatever, or are you planning on saving these for future possible grandbabies?
They're going to go for gifts. I have a baby gift ministry basket that, we've started at our church, where people can come and bring baby gifts for people that, people that have babies in our congregation, or what we would say our ward. And so I'm sure 1 or 2 will go in there, and then others will just be gifts for me to give. And I have plenty more fabric. I don't have batting, so I need to get some batting, but it doesn't take long. I just did pillowcase style, meaning like you sew all the layers together and then you leave a little opening, turn it right side out, stitch that closed. I did a top stitch around it, and then I tied it.
Yeah.
So
I always called those envelope style, but yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Love it. I definitely do need to do this. And there is something just so amazingly comforting about a tied quilt.
I love pieced quilts, hand quilted quilts. I love them. But for my children, their tied quilts were the ones that were like the coziest go-to ones for the babies. I don't know.
Because you weren't so worried about them being
messed up,
I guess.
Spit up on.
Yeah.
Whereas with the pieced ones, hand
throw
quilted,
it in the washing machine.
Worried, like, we've got to preserve it.
Yeah. I have 2 that my mother-in-law made. And she was a crafty person for most of her life. But by the time I met her, that was kind of dying down a little bit. And her health was not as good. And so, anyway, she made those when Ethan was born. And one of them looks more boyish and one of them looks more girlish. And so they just have gone through all of my kids and just been so well loved.
I remember
I want to go get them out and just snuggle them.
I remember one Christmas, our grandma Childs, so it was my mother's mother. I remember her coming over on Christmas morning, and she had her car full of big black garbage bags and just started bringing them in, and we're like, what is this for Christmas? And she had a tied quilt, I think it was twin size. Yeah, they were twin size. For each of the grandchildren.
She had made them for all of them.
Favorite.
And we kind of just got to pick. I don't know if she had. Did she label them?
I think she just brought in enough for the kids and except for because we're all girls, and then there's one boy, and I think she had one specifically for Andrew. But
I wonder what happened. I don't have mine.
I think
anymore.
We just used them and used them.
We used them up.
I still though I have one. I don't know how I ended up with it. I think that it was in the pile of things that were going to go, and I'm like, I want that. A queen size tied quilt that she used, and it's like browns and not colors I really like, but I remember it being used growing up, and so I like that one.
Do you remember the clown quilt?
Oh, the clown quilt.
That was originally mine, but then it went down. It was
I thought she made it for Alexis.
No, it just went down through, and then Alexis is the one who ended up keeping it. But it was mine, and I went through all of us kids.
Oh wow.
And it had fuzzy.
It was like pom-pom,
fluffy, fat. No, it was actually like a fabric that was had a high pile to it for the hair.
Okay.
Of the clown, and then there were pom-poms sewn at the tip of his little pointy hat. It wasn't a creepy clown. It was a cute. Now
actually no, I remember. It was a quilting cotton panel.
Yeah.
And then the hair, you know how you can sew and do loops, how you wrap it around your finger? I remember it being yarn, and the red loop yarn, and it started wearing down, coming down, coming out, felting.
And
there was a pom-pom on there.
There was a pom-pom, yeah.
but it got so
It was
worn
so worn.
through that, I mean, like, it wasn't just bare in some places. It was, the
Gone.
fabric was disintegrated.
It was patched, and the edge, it used to have prairie point edge to it, but all of us kids would play with them when we were little to the point where they were just getting pulled out.
Yeah.
And eventually those got cut off and just kind of got folded over and tops like hemmed. You know, the whole thing got hemmed, but it was loved to bits.
Yeah, so it's nice to have all fancy quilts and things, but the ones that get used the most are like the simple ones. So
fun.
I'll
Good
make some
memories.
more. I brought back your Q-snap frame, so now you can work on
my quilt, which I'll show you next.
Okay.
Oh, I did it again.
Emily has a talent for that.
It was just a piece of fabric. It shouldn't have moved the whole thing. All right, I have pieced this quilt top. So this is not really a finished object, but it's a finished quilt top, getting ready to be quilted. Here, you have to help me hold this up. Ah, here we go.
Okay.
There it is.
There's the center. Let's go down a little bit. Okay, there's the border.
And it's square, so you can see that's the border all the way around. So I bought a kit for this. Let me pull this out really quick.
Fabrics are cute. I can see that up close.
This is the picture that came with it. And those are the fabrics, although it does show up looking a lot more navy. This is more of a muted blue than it kind of shows up in sometimes in pictures. But that's the look of it. And this was called a Lone Star Sawtooth Variation Crib Quilt. I bought this. It doesn't say who it's designed by or anything. Oh, let me see. Amy Smart, Diary of a Quilter.
Oh, Amy.
And I bought this at our local store called Pine Needles, which is a great store for quilters. We've talked a lot of times about Gardner Village, which we love to go to, and that's where Pine Needles is. So normally when and pretty much every time I've ever made a quilt up till now, I've just found a pattern and then gone and picked out fabrics for it. But this time I just bought the whole kit, and that was nice. It came with the pattern and all the fabric, and that's okay. So anyway, so I've got it all pieced.
I'm trying to get that corner, but I can't get that corner.
Yeah, we'll worry about it later. Getting ready to quilt that. I had to order batting for it, which just came a few days ago. So, and Deborah brought back my frame so I can get working on that. I am going to be doing a pieced back because I have enough leftovers from the front that I want to do that with. But there's some of my favorites. I love this pink polka dot, if you can see that one. And I love the blue in general. Where's the gray? I'll find a better.
They're all cut up and
they're
small.
all cut up and small. Now I'm unfolding the thing we just folded. This gray.
There you go.
I love that gray. Isn't that cute? This whole line is something to do with fairies. What is it? Oh, it's a Riley Blake fabric line, and it says something to do with.
I'm an obsessive folder.
Something to do with fairies. Does it say on here? Probably not. So we won't worry about it. Anyway, it's a fun one. It's a lot of fun. And I'm excited to get that going.
I'm like, it doesn't say it on the front.
It doesn't say,
of that?
wait, maybe it says. Nope, it doesn't.
Huh.
If I find fabric that still has the selvage, I could tell
Then
you.
you'd
But,
know.
oh, here we go. No.
Yep, Riley Blake.
Well, I know it's a Riley Blake. I'm just trying to find out what the line of the Riley
sorry.
Blake is.
Sorry.
I think I've cut the selvage off of almost everything, so that's not super helpful. It's something to do with fairies.
There you go.
Oh, look, more fabric.
Oh, pretty. Those are fun. I have a hard time getting rid of any little scraps. What does it say?
Fairy Edith.
There you go.
By Amanda Castor of Material Girl Quilts. And it's Riley Blake Designs.
Very nice.
So there you go. Fairy Edith. That's kind of a funny name. I like it.
So I started going through all of my scraps. I have a lot of scraps, and I started making project bags. And then I made cottage notions pouches, if any of you remember that, as a way to use up scraps. And I found it just created more scraps. They like multiplied. It didn't actually diminish, it just multiplied.
Well, because if you have one and you cut it in half, now you have two. That's how it works.
And so I finally decided the other day, I've had enough of all of these random bits. So I started going through and cutting them all into either 4-inch squares, not 4.5, because typically you do 4.5, but because I have a 4-inch square thing, or 2.5 inches. Did I do 2.5? If it's like too small for that. And I did this before with all my scraps. Anytime I got down to the last little bit of something, I would just cut it up and stick it in a pile. And then I ended up with a massive pile of them and then went, what am I going to do with this now? And then I sold them. And so I'm cutting them up, not knowing what I'm going to do with them. But I'm like, at least it will, you know, like become a usable thing instead of this random bit floating around. Because I have so many that it's time to do a clear out. I almost want to just get rid of all of it. But then I feel guilty getting rid of all of it.
Well, because you don't want it, like, it's hard to get rid of fabric because you don't, you know, there's only so many places like if you find somebody who wants it and will appreciate it, that's one thing. But you don't want to just throw it away.
Yeah.
And a lot of thrift stores, if you take them to like donate them to thrift stores, they just throw them away.
Well, there was one place that they wanted large pieces of fabric. And then they put them on bolts and they took them to a place where if people needed help and they wanted to make clothes or something like that, they could come and get some fabric.
Well, that's great.
So I donated it there, but the people receiving it apparently didn't get the memo. And they looked at it and thought that I just brought like old torn sheets or something. And before I got a chance to tell them, they just like dumped it in the trash and everything else on top of it. And I just was like, I just took you like 60 yards of fabric.
Oh my gosh.
Just got dumped in the trash.
Yeah. See, that's what you don't want to have happen.
So anyways, and it's all these little scraps. It's just, I like using things up, but I'm not going to be using them up. So I'm trying to make them into a usable something, but I don't know what I'll do with them after that. And after cutting up hundreds of them, I'm kind of like, maybe I don't even want to do this anymore.
Well, but the wonderful thing about it, at least this happens to me all the time, is that time makes everything new again. Because then you don't look at it for a while, and then you come back and you're like, oh, look at this treasure. I mean, I've done that with yarn. I've done that with clothes that I had that I forgot I had, you know. So it's kind of fun.
Yep. Okay. I have cross stitch. What else do you have?
I only have one more thing to show, so.
Okay. I have a couple of things of cross stitch. Okay. I've finished 2 things. I'm so proud of myself. I have worked on this one for probably a year. Yes, it was. I started it last March. I believe. And
it's so
it
pretty.
is from, I can't show you like the front and the name of the chart because all it is a picture of the chart within this book. And I found this book on eBay after looking for quite a while because I found parts of this chart on Pinterest and went, it took me a while to track down what it was and where it came from, and I loved it. So I didn't do all of the back stitching. I did the back stitching in here, but I loved how this looked kind of more soft and watercolor like without all the back stitching. And I'm glad at the end that I decided that at the beginning, because at the end there's no way I was going to do the back stitching.
You were done.
And this one was just so fussy. I couldn't do this while listening, you know, even listening to an audiobook or watching a movie or anything. I couldn't take it with me on the go. It was like I had to look and count every single little tiny thing. And, you know, it was just really finicky. So I bought this board at Hobby Lobby and put it on some like mounting like sticky board with a little bit of batting on it, put some rickrack and some old lace and a velvet ribbon. And this has a hook on the back so it can hang on the wall, or I'd probably have it on like a tripod, like a little picture stand or something on a desktop. I don't even know what I'm going to do with these. I made it because I wanted to make it.
It's so pretty though. I love it.
And now all I wanted...
That's the only thing you wanted from that book, right?
This cat is cute. I'm just trying to think. When I got it, I thought, oh, I love this designer. I bought another one of these books from, well, what it has is a variety of designers, but I loved the whole aesthetic. So I thought, oh, I'd love a whole bunch of these. And I opened it up and went, no, not really. I just like that one, maybe two. So
it's all cats.
Yeah, I'm not a huge cat person. You know, I'm not
And it's
against
all in
cats.
French.
Well, you don't have to read French in order to.
I know. I
know
just
to
think
do
it
this.
was.
But so I'm trying to decide if I'm going to keep this or what I'm going to do with it.
Let it
But
find a new home.
it's all DMC, and yeah, it just says on the bottom of the chart. It was just pretty simple. Okay, there's that one. I did another finish from Lizzie Kate. I bought this chart. I'm gonna take it out of here.
Yeah,
I bought this last year, I think in November. And it's Tiny Tidings 21. And I stitched this one. I was sick one day and I didn't know, I don't even think I had most of these colors. So I just went diving through my stash of random flosses and found ones that matched up with it as close as I could. And I finished it. It's in this little tray so it can sit.
It's so cute.
There.
Do you sell that? No, never mind. Never mind. I was thinking, do you sell that shelf on your wall? But you don't even have that wall anymore. So I don't know what I was thinking.
I have the shelf, just not the wall. So I mounted this one on the sticky board, no batting, and put some pipe. No, what is it? It's called, Emily? This.
Yeah, piping.
Yeah, piping around it that I just hot glued onto it.
Little trees.
Little
That's
brush
so
trees
cute.
and a little bell, and this is a chenille.
So it's
stem.
snow.
Yeah, I thought that one was kind of fun.
That's adorable.
So there was that one, because that one took me almost no time at all to stitch. It was just a really quick one.
I'm kind of embarrassed about the fact that I haven't finished my cross stitch yet.
Well, I've been working on the same three for a year.
I haven't even pulled it out in months, so I will just, once I get it out, I'm almost done with it.
So I finished those two, and then I worked on two others. So I have made progress, because I think it's been, I don't even know, it's been so long since I've shown any cross stitch. So this one is by Country Cottage Needleworks, Merry Christmas, My Dear. And I went and got the same linen, the polka dot linen.
Cute.
Here, I'm going to put
The
it behind.
polka dot makes such a difference. It's so fun.
I haven't done a lot, but it's taken me an eternity. I'm very slow. But I've done that much. Yeah, I do like the polka dots.
That's fun.
Because there was also a blue polka dot one. And they had it stitched up on the blue polka dot, and I think I liked this one better, so I stuck with that. A lot of these, like I said, I make them not necessarily because I really have any need. Like, who needs a lot of this stuff? I don't know what I'm doing with them, because these are not necessarily things that suit the style of my home. But I'm making them because I want to make them.
But you have this sister just right here who would happily hang any of these up.
I have a couple of drawers that I call my gift drawer, like that I put things in when I make them or find things, and then when you gift, I go look through and see what suits the right person and pull them out. So I like having things ready to go. Okay, and then the last cross stitch one that I have been working on is by Country Cottage Needleworks, and it's the Welcome to the Forest collection. And I finished except for the strands that go to hold like the banners hang on. I'm going to do that at the end when I do that color and everything. So I did the main banner or the main chart. I've done this one with the raccoon and the owl and the bunny, and I am just starting on the bear. And I'm doing them all on the same fabric, but they're not going to stay on this fabric, and typically you want like a 3-inch around each item, but this one I didn't have the room for that, and I'm doing something different where I don't need the 3 inches. I'm going to sew it onto something. So anyways, that way I can fit it onto the same.
I keep looking to see if I could grab mine, but that's where mine is up there, and that's the one you gave me from that.
The tin?
Yeah, so this is the one you gave me, and that's where I am on that.
No, let's see. That's not the one.
It's from the same.
This one is called...
Yeah, it's from the same one.
I know, I'm just wondering what the name of that specific chart is.
It is...
Right there.
Forest Deer. Welcome to the Forest Deer.
Okay. I'm doing Forest Bear right now
Because
it has a little beehive. And the other one that I did was Forest Raccoon and Friends. So
that's cute. And actually, that's all I'm doing. I'm doing the border. That's all I have left.
Come on, Emily.
I am so. That's ridiculous that I don't have it done. It looks like it got dirty. What happened? Anyway, yeah, that's kind of silly that I don't have it finished. I think I will finish that today.
So I dyed this fabric using Rit dyes, and that's why I needed to get everything onto this piece. So it had to fit on there or I'm not stitching it. Okay, that is all of my cross stitch.
That's wonderful.
That's all my, oh no, I had one more project.
Okay,
but...
show your other project.
Okay, well, this is an update on a project that I started in January, and it is my Pillowcases of Love project. In here, I have, I think, 25 pillowcases that I have finished, and we've used maybe 10 of them. So I'm about halfway to my goal of making between 65 and 70 pillowcases. And I had a really lovely viewer contact me. I'm not going to mention her name because I forgot to ask if I could. Who sent me fabrics that she had in her stash for bands. So I have enough bands now for all of our pillowcases, which is fabulous.
That is so great.
So I've got quite a stash in here, but it is so nice to have all of those. So I don't need to make any more until this, goes down a little bit. And then I'll make some more as we go along in the year. So to make those, I used a 9-inch by 43-inch band that got folded in half. And then I did a 43 inches by 28 or 29? 28 or 29 inches that I sewed onto the bottom. So the band is doubled, so it really is only 4.5 inches tall. And then once you have the seam allowance, it's like 4 inches-ish tall. So it takes those two pieces together, but it takes almost no time. And then there's like a tutorial. I've just seen a lot of tutorials. They call it the envelope. Yes, the envelope method for making the pillowcases so that you don't have any raw edges on the inside where the band connects. And then I just serged up the side and the bottom to make it faster.
That's so great. And that's such a nice gift. I mean, honestly.
They're fun to make. I like them.
All right, I have one last thing, which is my next project that I'm going to be working on. So this is my next quilting project. I'm hoping you can see this. Kind of, yeah.
Right there. Yep.
So this is it's just a small quilt. It'll be 34 inches, I think. Yeah, 34 inches square when it's all done. And the plan is to either hang it up here in my sewing room, or I think actually what I'm going to be doing is putting it on my table as like a table centerpiece. And these are my fabrics that I'm going to be using.
This one's my favorite.
Fun?
I'm having a gingham moment. Gingham is summer.
Gingham is so great.
It's summer. I love polka dots and gingham so much.
I agree. And your yellow gingham on your shirt is just so cute.
I have to show you this pillowcase. Sorry, Emily.
No, do it. Do it. Oh, yes.
I mean, how cute is that?
Oh.
I love it.
So I have two picnic tablecloths, a yellow one and a red one, that were grandma's, and they're gingham tablecloths that she always would have. Like just when we were talking about, in our last episode, we talked about going up to the campgrounds for evenings. Anyway.
And I have like 10 maybe square like table toppers that are yellow gingham that the fabric came from my grandmother Gray. Yeah. So I used them to make that.
So fun. I love it. So anyway, these are going to be my fabrics. These 4 will make the 4 different little stars, and then this one will be used to make the little dividers between each block.
The sashing?
So so here, I'll show you. You can't really see it very well in this picture, but there is a narrow sashing. It's just very low contrast in this example that goes between each of these blocks. Okay. And so, I mean, even though you kind of use all of the 4 colors in every block, but there's kind of a predominant color in each one. And then I still need to get some white background. I love white on white prints for backgrounds in a quilt. So that's what I need to get.
Did you just buy these?
No, I've had them for a long time. I've had them for a few years. Yeah. And
I've had some of this and one that had the larger roses and polka dots. Had this one, which is gone. But I didn't see this one, or I would have.
There's a couple of others. So
I love that one.
This will probably be my backing and this will be my binding.
Oh,
unless
I love it.
Unless I do just the red polka dot binding, which you have to also love. Again, let's see. I was going to look at
summer.
Isn't it?
So much.
I love this fabric so much. It just, in fact, you know what? I might save this and do a tied quilt with it.
Oh yeah, because
I think that's what I'm going to do. I want to save it.
And it goes on your table. You're not going to see it.
No, I want. It's just too pretty.
And like use that for that. This would be such a sweet baby blanket.
Flower Sugar Floral Collection.
I love it.
By Lachine. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, that's what that collection is.
So pretty.
Isn't that beautiful? I think I am. I'm going to do a tied quilt with this one because it's
Fabulous.
a great size
I'm
for a tied
glad I helped
quilt.
you come to that decision, Emily.
What would I do without you?
And
it needs a pink or probably this minty blue back.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Oh, that just makes me so happy. So now I know what my next 2 projects are going to be. So anyway, that's what I've got coming up next.
Fun. I'm happy that you're going to start quilting your other one. Where did it go? Somewhere around here, but
I put it away over here in my little nook. But I got the bat, and that batting will be enough to do both.
Oh, good.
The quilt that I already showed, and then the one coming up, because I bought a bigger bat that I could use for both. So I will be working on that coming up here, and yeah. So I have a Q-snap frame. I don't know if any of you have heard of Q-snap frames. I'm sure you have.
Because they're popular for cross stitching, for needlework, embroidery. Yeah. But then they have the large one that is, you can you adjust the height? No.
Well, yeah, I mean you could with a saw. But no, it's not height adjustable, but it's very lightweight. It's made from PVC, and then it is just a frame, with these kind of gripper things that snap onto it, and then you kind of can rotate them out to adjust the tension. And
you just sit at it, and you can work on a space that's not giant, so it doesn't take up your entire room. Right. It takes one person to put it on. Yeah. One person to adjust it. It's nice.
And you kind of, just when you're doing a quilt, you would start in your center, just like you would be in a lot of other things, and you work your way, kind of out and around. But this total width or area that's available to you is, I think, about
35
by, it's about almost 3 feet by 2 feet.
Yeah.
About that. So 2 people could sit and work at it.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, when I was doing the baby quilts, I did that where it would be one on either side.
It is nice though, because it is lightweight, and you could pick it up and move it into another room if you were having guests over, or just slide it into the corner of your room or something.
The only downside to it is that when you have a larger quilt and it hangs over the edge, you've got to, get your hand underneath when you're quilting and you do the rocking, and you have one hand underneath and one hand on top. Yeah. If you do it the way that we do it, and I think a lot of people. So you're sometimes like battling that extra bulk.
And I have quilted an entire, like twin size quilt, like hand quilted it on that before. And actually, did I do a big? I think I might have done a double, like a full size as well. And that does get annoying, but it's
very nice to have.
I just don't have space to put up like the big wooden frames, I
don't have anywhere that has enough space that's open to do that and get chairs and people.
I could do it in my living room if I moved the furniture out. I could barely squeak it in.
Well, and I did that in my living room, but now we couldn't because we can't move our furniture out. We'd have to take out our piano.
Right, yeah.
In my basement now, we may be able to. I was going to measure and see if I could put one up there.
I love seeing pictures of, and we've talked about this before, but some of the different ways that people used to do things, like the quilting frames that were suspended from the ceiling.
Yeah, and they would just raise them up, and they'd just be up and out of the way, and then you just lower it down. I'm also thinking, though, that would swing.
Oh, yeah. It would be kind of annoying, but I guess there's trade-offs of everything.
Yeah. I mean, but that wouldn't take up all of your floor space.
Just have so many memories of walking around the edge of the quilt and jabbing your hip with the 2x4, or not the 2x4, but the wooden piece.
But as somebody does that, and you're like quilting, and now you've bled all over the quilt, and you're like, ah! And then Grandma's saying the best way to get rid of blood is to spit on it.
Yep.
And then you gotta eat the enzymes breaks down the blood.
It's true, though. It is true. So there's a lot
of things that we have learned.
Blood, sweat, spit, and tears in every good handmade quilt.
There's a lot of our DNA in these quilts.
Abby was saying to me the other day that she says, we really need to put up a quilt because I miss that. I need to have a quilt up. And I said, well, I was going to put one on this. She goes, no, like the big one. And, my kids all think whenever they have food association memories too. Yeah. Aunt Mary making potato and onion soup.
Yeah. Well, see, I think 6 quilts that need to be quilted. Mm-hmm. The problem is that we put them up and I can't do it all by myself. And so then it just sits there endlessly taking up all of the space. Yeah. And so I love the idea of it, but we no longer have our group of people that we used to get together to quilt with.
Yeah,
and so
everybody's just
it's just changed. It's just changed how it goes. But I do miss that, where you get together and solve all of the world's problems, and the counseling therapy session. So
it's true. Good stuff.
But some of the crafting and other things that we've been making, do you have something else?
I do have just one little thing I want to share. A little announcement before we end.
Okay.
So I am really excited to be sharing with you that I am dyeing Advent calendars again. And I know this has mostly been about non-yarn things. So we're coming back to the yarn for a minute. But I wanted to share my theme with you because I'm going to be putting my Advents. I will be doing them in 3 batches so that people can do them at the times that are the most convenient for their budgets. So I'll be releasing my first batch of listings on April 1st is when that will go up. And the theme for the year is elf. I love it. I like to smile. Smiling's my favorite. Deborah gave this to me because she knew that I was doing this and she found that. Isn't that great? So I'm doing an elf themed Advent this year. And it will be a 25-day Advent with 24 mini skeins and 1 full skein plus fun little extras.
How many grams are in the minis?
20 gram minis. Okay. So 24 20-gram minis. So it is a hefty, plump, full up Advent. And I will, like I said, be putting my first round of listings in my shop on April 1st. So it's going to be fun. I already have all the color names picked.
I know, I got to hear the majority of them, and it's going to be fabulous.
It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. It's like I've waited my whole life for this moment. I've been training my whole life for this moment.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for a bonus crafty episode. Anything else exciting? Nope.
Nope. Nothing's exciting.
Nothing in this life is exciting.
Except for all of these babies.
I prefer when life is not super exciting. I could handle...
It's just a different thing. When life is slow, then my making life becomes very exciting.
Yes. All right. Thanks for joining us again, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
That's the intro.
We're back!
Did you miss us?
It's been so long.
Hey, you didn't change
your shirt.